Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's funny, man. I just randomly chose this shirt, and I realized that I just got done eating some burritos, man. Funny coincidence. But anyway, I like burritos, man. I don't know if you guys out there like them or not. You should try some. You know, it's crazy to me because we have Wesley So is on his rest day with the U.S. Championship, but he's playing chess still. So he's playing the Speed Chess Championship, and this is round number one, game number one between Wesley So and Vincent Keymer. So I will say Maraming Salamat to my people from the Philippines. And if you are from Germany, I will say Danke. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. But man, if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, son. All right, man, so we got E4 best by test. Somebody said it, I can't remember who. We got E5, we got knight to F3, knight C6, and then we have one of the oldest openings known to man, and that is the Ruy Lopez, also known as the Spanish game, Ruy Lopez de Segura. You know, if you know some chess history, homie. But anyways, you know, it's pretty clear. We're like, hey, bro, we're going to try to, you know, pin this knight down, maybe you take it, and then we're going to grab a pawn for free. It doesn't work like that, but, you know, it's just kind of the idea, right? We do see the move A6. We got bishop to A4. So we kind of have two options when we get to this point. You can go captures on C6, and then the pawn takes, and you've kind of damaged black structure a little bit. Maybe you can try to get the pawn at some point, or you can try to keep some options open, you know, keep more pieces on the board and go bishop to A4. That's kind of the trending way to play today. It's a little bit stronger also. We do see knight to F6. We got castles by white. Bishop goes to E7. We got the move D3. So, you know, we're playing more of a positional game these days, you know, in this particular opening. So, keeping all the pieces on, you know, keeping options open and things like that, more tactics and everything. We do see the move B5. One of the main ideas, just backing this bishop up. You know, it is advisable as the game goes on to maybe just say, hey, man, I'm going to break this pin. It's not a pin, but it's like if I can get rid of this arrow here, bam. It is a possibility for a capture. And then, I mean, you definitely can win this pawn. Once you've already castled, I mean, a lot of the tactics go out the window. You do see bishop back to B3. We do see the move D6. Everything's super solid to this point. C3 creating luft. And just in enough time, as you will see coming up here in a second, we do see castles by black. Rook goes to E1, and then we do see knight to A5. And if you have not made the if you had not made the C3 move, your bishop would be kind of out of there. Maybe you can go knight here and then take back here, but you would be losing your bishop immediately. So we do see bishop back to C2, create, you know, a little lift for our bishop. We do see the move C5, and it is actually very, very interesting because, you know, white definitely wants to get the move D4 in. That is one of the biggest things that they're trying to do. So C5, it doesn't stop it, but, you know, it just kind of makes it just a little bit harder to make. But we do see D4 anyway. You know, Wesley's like, bro, I'm going to do what I want to do anyways. You're not going to stop me, right? We got pawn takes D4, pawn takes D4, and then we do see bishop to G4. And this is a little bit of an uncomfortable pin. And so, you know, you kind of want to take here, and then bishop takes, and, you know, it kind of makes a little bit of something going on. But we do not see that. We actually see pawn takes C5, and this is the novelty of the game as of 2025, today. We do see pawn taking C5. We got knight up to C3. The queen takes, and then the rook takes, and it kind of gets into the uncomfortable position that I was telling you guys before. You know, you have this pin, and with the move D4, that is kind of where you want this pin to come in. If you just kind of stay with D3, the pin doesn't really make as much sense. But this is very, very uncomfortable. I mean, if you pretty much ever played chess before, I mean, pinning a knight against a rook is very uncomfortable, unless you kind of have the other knight, like, you know, over here or something like that. We do see a rook A to D8. We got the bishop going to F4. We got knight back to C6. And we have a really, really huge idea with this knight. But the first thing, and one of the other good things about moving this pawn to C5 when you did earlier in the game, is that you have created a situation where you've moved your knight out of the way. You move C5, and now you have your pawn chain outside of where your knight is sitting. So that's definitely going to be, you know, one of the most beneficial situations that you run into. We got rook A to C1. We got knight down to D4. And, I mean, you pretty much just maximize this pin, bro. This is a very, very uncomfortable pin to have to try to meet. There's a lot of tactics involved in the situation. We do see the move H3. We got bishop taking F3, and then pawn taking F3. And we have actually reached a point in the game that there is a very, very, very nice move. It's a somewhat subtle move, but it's a very nice move. If you want to pause the video and try to guess what move Keymer plays right here, go ahead and do so. Okay, cool. So I really don't think a lot of people guess this move. I don't think, like, you know, everybody was like, yeah, man, this is the best move ever. Because I think a lot of you guys, even myself at one point, I was like, man, knight takes f3. And it's like, okay, the king will move, but then you just move back to d4, right? That is absolutely an idea. It's not like you're going to be losing the game if you play that. You're going to be winning some material. You know, white structure is bad, stuff like that. Cool. But there is a much, much more monstrous move in the position. And it kind of forces Wesley So to act in a specific manner. It is the move b4. If you guessed b4, you would be absolutely correct. What we are looking at right here in this position is if we can land this knight on e2, we will be forking this king and this rook. And I mean, we're just going to have a great day, right? So what is the best way for you to go about doing that, seeing as the knight is defending this square? It is the move b4. If you can land b4 on the board, I mean, you're just kind of good to go, man. You're going to force, like I said, Wesley So into a position that we see coming up here. And that is after we saw b4. This is the best bailout move in the position because, I mean, you're going to be losing your rook anyway, so you might as well lose it kind of like in a flashy type of way. And, I mean, this is kind of crazy right here. You guys saw in the thumbnail. Yeah, so we do see pawn taking c4, pawn taking d4. And I thought this position was kind of interesting because look at this, bro. Like, how much hatred do you have for this knight right here? Like, that's what I'm trying to say, bro. It's kind of funny. It's like you got two separate pawns, both, you know, attacking this knight. Like, bro, we need you to move. We need you to do something else with your life. We got knight going over to a4. We do see knight going to h5. We got bishop back to d2, which might kind of seem like, hey, man, I'm saving the bishop. But black has a very, very nice idea, and it is just to simply play bishop to d6. And we're basically saying, bro, what are you going to do about this move right here? I'm going to go ahead and challenge this bishop, and it's in front of the rook. So you really don't have a whole lot of good options. White's strength in their position right here is double bishops, right? The bishop pair. So if you can get rid of the bishop pair, if you are Keymer, I mean, that's not really where you want to be at if you're Wesley So. We do see bishop going to d3. We do see bishop going to f4. Like I said, you don't really have a lot of great options. You can counterattack, which is what we see Wesley So do in this position. After the rook goes to c5, we got bishop taking d2, and then, of course, we take on h5. You do see the move g6, and you got rook going over to a5, but unfortunately, this is a very, very bad mistake because it allows the move, and this is the move that we saw in the game, is the move b3. So not only is it's like a double threat. Not only is this bishop now attacking this rook, but you have a situation where this pawn is going to be taking on the a file, and you don't have a whole lot of good things that you can really do. We see rook taking a6, and then we see pawn taking a2, and it is in this position that Wesley So resigns the game. It was short and sweet. This was a short and sweet game. Now, what I will tell you is this, because I'm not doing like the rest of the games because they played like 25 games. So I'm not doing all those. Wesley So did win the match, so he did advance to the quarterfinals. But he did lose this start-off game, and he might have been kind of tired. It's supposed to be his rest day. But for some reason, he's not resting. I don't know what he's doing. But for any of you guys that might be looking at the position, be like, hey, man, all I got to do is like move the knight out of the way somewhere, and then I can just take the pawn, right? Well, you kind of can, but it's still completely losing. So let's just take one of the best variations, for example. Let's go knight to b6. You would be looking at rook to d6. And this rook is very, very happy to sacrifice itself to deflect this rook. So that way this pawn can queen. But you would just be taking here, and then you'd be losing the knight. And then now you are an entire piece down. And this is just not really where you want to be at. So if we go back, instead of knight to b6, let's just say, hey, man, I'm just not going to go knight b6. I'm going knight c5. Maybe my knight won't be gone. Well, you have a situation where the rook would slide over here, and then there's no way to maintain this position for this rook. You're going to, I mean, you can sacrifice right here, but the rook is going to take. You can take here. The rook is going to take. It's forcing this pawn into promotion. This is a completely resignable position, so it makes sense that he did that. So, maraming salamat aking makaibigan po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. I'd say God Morgan to you. Guten Morgen, I think it's in German. I think it's Guten Morgen. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I'm going to see you guys next time.